Hello, everyone. Tonight, we are traveling by rail. It's late. The landscape outside the window is just a dark, rushing smear. And the gentle, rhythmic clatter of the wheels on the track is a sound designed for sleep. The air in the carriage is thick with the scent of old upholstery and the faint metallic tang of the heating system. The lights overhead are dimmed, casting long, soft shadows that sway with the motion of the train. In this little world, this metal tube hurtling through the night, the rest of the world has fallen away, and there is only the journey. And of course, your fellow travelers. You can get a good read on a person when you're stuck with them for a few hours. But sometimes you get a seat next to someone whose story is so strange, so deeply unsettling. It feels like it might just pull you under with them. And when that happens, you realize just how fragile the barrier is between your quiet little life and a stranger's living nightmare. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. But only if you really like what I'm doing here. Let me know where you're listening from tonight and what time it is there in the comments. Now, turn off the lights. Maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get going tonight. The compartment is nearly empty, which feels like a small miracle. You slide into a window seat, the worn plush of the fabric cool against your back. You stow your bag and settle in for the long haul, ready to let the hypnotic sway of the carriage lull you into a comfortable stupor. The choice of seatmate is always a bit of a lottery on public transport, isn't it? You might get someone who snores like a faulty generator, or a person who decides this 4-hour journey is the perfect time to catch up on all their missed calls. You're bracing for the usual, but instead, you get him. At first, you barely notice. He's just a shape in the corner opposite you. A man in a rumpled suit. His face half hidden by shadow. He's white-faced, not just pale, but the kind of bleached, bloodless white that speaks of either profound illness or profound fear. His hands are clasped tightly on his knees, and his knuckles are bone white. He isn't reading. He isn't looking out the window. He is simply staring into the middle distance of the carriage, his eyes wide, fixed, and utterly terrified. Every so often, his head will begin to nod, a slow, gravitational droop. And then, just as his chin is about to touch his chest, he jerks back upright with a convulsive, silent gasp. His whole body tenses, his eyes darting around as if he's just woken up from a nightmare. But he hasn't been asleep. Not really. He's just been fighting it. You try to ignore him. You really do. You turn your attention to the dark glass of the window, seeing your own tired reflection overlaid on the fleeting lights of distant farmhouses. This is certainly no Pullman Palace car. Those marvels of the 1860s, designed by George Pullman, were rolling hotels, promising travelers unparalleled luxury with velvet curtains, fine dining, and plush sleeping berths. Historians still debate whether Pullman's primary motivation was passenger comfort or simply a genius marketing move to make the grueling cross-country journey palatable for the wealthy elite. Either way, this carriage, with its stubborn lump seats seemingly designed by someone who believed the human spine had 4 fewer vertebrae, is a far cry from that golden age of travel. You lean your head back and close your eyes for just a moment, letting the gentle, rocking motion soothe you. But the man's presence is impossible to ignore. It's like an electric hum in the quiet air. You crack one eye open and see him staring directly at you now. His expression a mixture of panic and something else, pleading. When he sees he has your attention, a wave of relief washes over his features, though it does little to ease the tension in his shoulders. He is, you realize, absolutely terrified of being alone with his own exhaustion. It's an exhausting performance to watch. You half expect him to have one eye shut and one open, like a dolphin on alert, sleeping with just one half of its brain at a time. It's a nifty evolutionary trick, allowing them to rest while staying wary of predators, a skill this man probably wishes he could learn. He gives you a weak, apologetic smile. "I beg your pardon," he says, his voice a dry, reedy whisper. It sounds rusty, as if he hasn't used it in a while. "I hope I'm not disturbing you." You shake your head, offering a non-committal murmur. "What can you say? Yes, your quiet desperation is incredibly distracting. Probably not the best way to make a friend." He seems to take your silence as an invitation to continue. "It's this drowsiness," he says, gesturing vaguely at his own face as if it's a malfunctioning appliance. "I dare not sleep. I cannot sleep." He shudders, a violent full-body tremor. His gaze flickers to the empty seats around you, then back to you. The train rattles over a set of points, and the carriage jolts. The man starts as if a gunshot went off, his hands flying up to grip the armrests. His breath is coming in short, sharp bursts. There's an aura of wealth about him, despite the crumpled suit. His cufflinks are gold, his shoes expensive, even if they're scuffed. He doesn't look like a man accustomed to the indignities of a late-night public train. He looks like a man on the run, not from the law, but from his own mind. It's a fascinating, if unsettling, puzzle. Most people see sleep as a refuge, a necessary reset. Of course, modern psychology still debates the true function of our dreams. Are they just the brain's way of sorting through the day's useless information? A sort of mental disk defragmentation? Or are they something more profound, a nightly theater where we rehearse for potential threats, process deep-seated anxieties, or even, as some more fringe theories suggest, touch upon other states of being? For this man, whatever is waiting for him on the other side of consciousness isn't a rehearsal. It feels like the main event. And he's doing everything in his power to avoid taking the stage. He shifts in his seat, his tired, hunted eyes meeting yours with an unnerving directness. He seems to have decided that you are his anchor, his one connection to the solid, rattling, blessedly real world of this train carriage. "I'm sorry," the man repeats, his voice raspy. He leans forward, his hands still clenched, but now gesturing between you and him. "A little conversation. That's all I need. It keeps me here." He taps a finger against the grimy window pane as if to test the reality of it. You feel a prickle of something beyond pity. It's morbid curiosity. You're trapped on a moving train with a man who looks like he's seen a ghost, or worse, is worried he's about to become one. You give him a slight nod, a silent "go on." And that's all the encouragement he needs. The dam of his composure, already cracked and leaking, finally breaks. His name, he tells you, is Fortnum. And his problem isn't insomnia. It's the opposite. He is profoundly, bone-deeply tired, but sleep is not a refuge. For him, it's a door, and he has no control over where it leads. "When I fall asleep," he whispers, leaning so far forward you can smell the stale coffee on his breath. "It begins again. The dream." He says the word dream with such a venomous mix of longing and loathing that it sounds like a curse. It's not fragmented, not like a normal dream. It's a life, a whole other life, continuous, night after night. You just stare at him. A continuous dream life. It sounds like the plot of a movie you'd half watch on a streaming service before getting distracted by your phone. He seems to sense your skepticism. "I know it sounds mad," he rushes on, "but every time I close my eyes, I'm back there, in his body, living his day. And every morning, when I wake up here, I'm him, waking from a strange, brief dream of being me, a man on a train." The concept is so bizarre, so tangled, it makes your head spin. Who is the dreamer and who is the dream? It's the kind of knotty question philosophers love to chew on. Philosophers still debate whether our sense of a continuous self is an illusion, a story our brains tell us by stringing together disparate moments of consciousness. This man, Fortnum, is living that debate. He has two strings, two stories, and they are pulling him apart. He explains that this dream life has been going on for years. At first, it was a novelty, an exotic and vivid escape, but it's grown more intense, more real, and the life he lives in the dream has become complicated, dangerous even. The memories of that other life bleed into this one. The exhaustion from living 2 full days in every 24 hours is grinding him down. He's losing weight. He can't focus on his work. What little work he can still manage. He's seen doctors, of course, men in sober offices who listened politely, prescribed sleeping drafts and tonics, and diagnosed him with nervous exhaustion, a catch-all term for when they have absolutely no clue what's wrong with you. One of them even suggested he keep a dream journal. He lets out a short, harsh laugh. A journal? I'm living it. What am I supposed to write? Dear Diary, today I chaired a global policy meeting and then attended a zero-gravity ballet. Woke up tired. You can't help but feel a sliver of empathy. In the late 19th and early 20th century, the medical establishment was just beginning to grapple with the psyche. Freud's groundbreaking work, The Interpretation of Dreams, was published just a few years before Wells wrote this story, and it revolutionized the way people thought about their inner lives. Suddenly, dreams weren't just random mental static. They were coded messages from the subconscious. But Freud was dealing with symbols and repressed desires, not a full-blown alternate reality with a sequential plot. Fortnum's case would have baffled him. The two lives, he continues, his gaze unfocused again. They used to be so different. This one, he waves a hand around the musty train carriage, so mundane, and that one, so vivid. But now they are starting to feel equally real, equally terrible. He describes the sheer mental whiplash. Imagine spending your night making decisions that affect millions in a gleaming, futuristic world, only to wake up and have your biggest problem be that you've run out of coffee. It would be enough to give anyone an identity crisis. The famous inventor Thomas Edison famously disdained sleep, sometimes only getting 3 to 4 hours a night and considering the rest a waste of time. He'd probably have told Fortnum to monetize the experience, maybe invent something from his dreams. A solid piece of advice, maybe, if the dreams weren't actively trying to kill you. And that is the problem, Fortnum says, his voice dropping to a near inaudible whisper. Something is about to happen there. Something awful. I can feel it coming, and the last thing I want, the very last thing I want, is to be there when it does. He shudders again, a full-body convulsion of fear. He looks at his own hands as if they don't belong to him. But every time I start to nod off, I can feel it pulling me back. The sensations, the sights, the people. His eyes meet yours, and they are pools of undiluted dread. It's not a dream anymore. It's a memory of the future, and I have to live it again and again until the end. The train lurches, a loud screech of metal on metal as it slows for a siding. Fortnum clutches the armrests, his knuckles like polished stone, his whole body braced. not against the motion of the train, you realize, but against the terrifying pull of his own inevitable sleep. He closes his eyes for a fraction of a second too long. His head dips, a marionette with its strings cut, and then he's gone. His body remains in the seat opposite you, slack and still. But you know, with a sudden, chilling certainty, that he is no longer there. He has slipped through the door, and as the train settles back into its rhythm, you feel a strange, dissociative pull, as if the story has hooked into you. The clatter of the wheels fades, replaced by a low, resonant hum. The worn, dusty smell of the carriage gives way to something clean, ozone-like, with a floral undertone you can't quite place. You blink. The dim yellow light of the carriage is gone, and then you are somewhere else. You are no longer you. You are him. Or rather, the him in the dream. The name Hedon floats into your consciousness, as natural as your own. Your body feels different, younger, taller, more powerful. The rumpled suit is gone, replaced by soft, white garments of a material that seems to breathe against your skin. You are standing on a balcony, a sweeping crescent of what looks like polished alabaster, high above a city that seems to defy gravity itself. The sun, or what passes for a sun here, is bright but not harsh, casting a golden light over a landscape of impossible architecture. Gleaming towers, white and iridescent, rise into a sky of the purest, deepest blue. They aren't crowded together like the canyons of a modern city. They are spaced with artistic grace, connected by slender, translucent bridges upon which small, silent vehicles glide like beads of mercury. There are no streets below, not in the sense you understand them. Instead, there are lush, park-like spaces, intricate mosaics of green lawns, strange, vibrant foliage, and shimmering pools of water. Flying machines, shaped like a cross between a bird and a teardrop, flit between the towers with silent, effortless grace. It's not just futuristic, it's serene. It's a vision of a world that has solved all the ugly problems of scarcity, pollution, and conflict. It's beautiful. It's perfect. And as you gaze out over it, you feel a profound, soul-crushing boredom. This is the life of Hedon, you understand implicitly. A life of immense privilege and profound emptiness. The name itself is a bit on the nose, isn't it? Hedon, from the Greek word for pleasure. The entire society seems built around the pursuit of a managed, sterilized kind of pleasure, where every need is anticipated and met before it can curdle into genuine desire. There are no sharp edges here, no grit, no struggle, and therefore no real satisfaction. This entire magnificent view feels like a flawlessly rendered but soulless painting. You turn from the vista and look at Hedon's surroundings. The room behind you is vast, circular, and minimalist. The walls are a soft, shifting cream color, glowing with their own internal light. Furniture is sparse, molded from the same smooth, seamless material as the floor and balcony. A wide, low bed. A few simple chairs that look both beautiful and uncomfortable. There are no books, no personal clutter, no sign of a messy, lived-in life. It's less a home and more a gallery space where you just happen to sleep. This aesthetic isn't just a design choice. It's an ideology. Historians still debate the extent to which utopian literature, from Plato's Republic to Thomas More's Utopia, influenced actual social planners. But it's clear the dream of a perfectly ordered, friction-free society is an old one. This world is that dream made real, and the result is a gilded cage. You can feel the weight of this man's responsibilities pressing down on you. He's important. A politician, a leader, what is the word? It doesn't translate, but the feeling is one of immense systemic importance. Your days are scheduled down to the minute. Consultations, directives, public appearances, all of it managed by a soft, impersonal voice that seems to emanate from the air itself. You know, with the unshakable certainty of a dream, that in an hour you are due to give a speech about progress, about peace, about the unwavering perfection of this world you inhabit. And you have nothing new to say. What is there to say about perfection, except that it continues? It's like being asked to write a thrilling new song using only one note. It is a world of incredible technological advancement. For example, people in this society have access to something called a sensory log, which allows them to perfectly relive past experiences. It's the ultimate form of entertainment and also a social control mechanism of terrifying subtlety. Why risk unpredictable new experiences when you can endlessly repeat the curated, perfect ones? Even more strangely, their pets aren't animals in the traditional sense. Many are bioengineered companions designed for specific emotional feedback loops. A cat that never scratches. A dog that never barks inappropriately. Creatures tailored to provide comfort without inconvenience. Imagine a designer pet that never sheds. An oddly tempting, if slightly dystopian concept. One historical parallel might be the Cabinet of Curiosities, or Wunderkammer, from the Renaissance. These were rooms where wealthy nobles collected and displayed strange and exotic objects from around the world. A narwhal tusk passed off as a unicorn horn, an intricately carved coconut, a piece of ancient pottery. It was a way to possess the world, to categorize it and shrink it down to a manageable private collection. This whole futuristic city feels like a cabinet of curiosities, where life itself has been collected, polished, and put on display. And as you stand on that balcony, a cool, perfectly scented breeze washing over you, you feel the first stirrings of the dread that Fortnum spoke of. It's not just boredom, it's a deep-seated unease, a feeling that this perfect, polished surface is covering a vast, dark emptiness. This isn't a life, it's an exquisitely crafted simulation. And you, hedon, are beginning to notice the glitches, the flicker of unreality at the edges of your vision, the quiet scream building in the silent perfect air. The voice, the one that emanates from the air itself, chimes softly. Your presence is required at the Central Forum in 1 hour. Its tone is gentle, polite, and utterly implacable. There is no option to decline, no snooze button on your life. The effortless world around you is propped up by a rigid, invisible scaffolding of schedules and obligations. And you, hedon, are a central pillar of that structure. You walk back into the circular room, and as you do, a section of the seamless wall slides open to reveal a wardrobe. The soft, white garments you're wearing are for leisure, for contemplation. For public functions, something more formal is required. Rows of identical silvery gray tunics hang in perfect alignment. There are no choices to be made, not really. The illusion of choice is a marketing concept you understand from your own time, where a supermarket presents you with 30 types of nearly identical breakfast cereal. Here, they've done away with the illusion altogether. You are a man of a certain station, and this is your uniform. It simplifies things. It removes the friction of personal preference. It's also soul-crushingly monolithic. As you dress, you catch a glimpse of your reflection in a polished metal surface. It's a young man's face, handsome in a bland, symmetrical way. There are no lines of character or worry, just smooth, unblemished skin. It's the face of someone who has never known struggle, and it is a mask. Beneath it, you can feel Fortnum's terror, a cold knot in your stomach. And beneath that, you feel hedon's own weariness, a longing for something, anything, to break the flawless monotony. You move to the center of the room, and a disk of floor silently descends, a personal elevator carrying you down through the heart of the tower. There is no sound, no sensation of movement, except for the blur of lighted levels passing by the transparent walls. This is how the powerful travel. Below, the common folk. Though the term feels anachronistic in this classless yet clearly tiered society, use the public transport gliders. You recall a detail of this world's social structure. All basic needs are provided, but status is demonstrated through access to greater speed, greater privacy, and greater solitude. The more important you are, the less you have to interact with anyone you haven't specifically chosen to. Historians still debate the true purpose of the elaborate court etiquette of Louis XV's Versailles. Was it merely a spectacle of power, or was it a complex system designed to keep the nobility occupied with trivialities, preventing them from plotting against the crown? This future feels similar. A society so wrapped up in protocol and privilege that the very idea of rebellion seems to have atrophied from disuse. The elevator deposits you in a vast subterranean hangar where your personal flyer awaits. It's a sleek, dark teardrop waiting silently on a launch platform. No pilot, of course. The vehicle navigates itself. You settle into the single, cocoon-like seat, and the canopy of smoked glass seals over you. With a faint hum, you lift off, gliding out of the tunnel and into the open sky, joining the silent, orderly dance of air traffic. Below you, the perfect city unfurls, a marvel of engineering and social planning. You see the communal eating halls, the halls of sustenance, where nutrition is dispensed in aesthetically pleasing but bland forms. No greasy burger joints here, no messy street food. It makes you think of the weird things people used to eat for practical reasons. For instance, the Spartans of ancient Greece were famous for their black broth, a soup made of boiled pig's legs, blood, salt, and vinegar. It was supposedly awful, but it was nutritious and easy to make for an army on the move. You get the feeling that the food in this utopia is the aesthetic opposite, but the spiritual twin of that Spartan broth, perfectly designed for function, with all the joy surgically removed. The flyer weaves through the architectural wonders toward a colossal building in the center of the city, a structure that looks less like a building and more like a mountain that has been hollowed out and shaped by a giant's hand. This is the Central Forum, the heart of your government. As you approach, your mind is flooded with the details of your upcoming speech. You won't read from notes. The words will be fed to you. A subliminal prompter whispering in your mind. The speech is a familiar tapestry of platitudes, a testament to our harmonious design, the continued perfection of our social mechanics, the legacy of peace we build upon daily. It is a speech you have given in one form or another 100 times. The tedium of this life is palpable. It's a different kind of stress from Fortnum's, not the panic of a hunted man, but the slow, crushing weight of meaninglessness. This world has eliminated poverty, war, and disease. It has achieved the dream of every idealist throughout history, but in doing so, it has also eliminated the need for courage, for sacrifice, for real passion. It has engineered a paradise where the human soul has nothing to push against and so it has started to collapse inward. The citizens are placid, their emotions managed by chemical balancers and the aforementioned sensory logs. You recall reading about a bizarre patent filed in the late 20th century for a hugging machine designed to calm cattle. The people of this world are like those cattle, kept calm and docile by a system that provides for their every need but denies them their agency. Your flyer docks seamlessly with the forum. A doorway irises open, and you step out into a grand, echoing hall. Other officials, dressed in the same silvery gray tunics, nod to you with placid, impersonal respect. They are your colleagues. You have worked with them for years. You do not know them at all. As you walk toward the main amphitheater, you feel the crushing weight of this hollow pageant. You are a high priest of a religion in which no one, not even the priests, truly believes. And today, as you prepare to mouth the same empty words about perfection and harmony, a new feeling begins to stir within you. Not just boredom or weariness, it is a nascent spark of something wilder. Rebellion, the desire to scream, to smash something, to do anything that is not on the schedule. And that desire, in a world this controlled, is the most dangerous feeling of all. Your speech at the Central Forum is exactly as predicted. Flawless, resonant, and utterly forgettable. The words flow through you, not from you. A river of polished rhetoric that you are merely a conduit for. You speak of unity, of the placid glory of your age, of the great mechanisms of society that have elevated you, all beyond the brutish struggles of your ancestors. The assembly of silver-clad officials receives it with gentle, programmed applause. No one cheers, no one boos. They simply absorb it. It is information, not inspiration. As the last perfectly modulated echo of your voice fades, you feel a profound hollowness, the emotional equivalent of a four not found page. And then, as is customary after such exertions, your schedule dictates a period of rest and recuperation. The soft, ambient voice informs you that you are to return to your residential tower. But as your flyer lifts off from the forum, a flicker of that rebellious spark you felt earlier ignites. On a whim, an impulse so alien it feels like an invading thought, you override the destination. You command the flyer to go not to your sterile home in the capital, but south. South, to the island, Capri. The city gives way to meticulously manicured landscapes, then to a sea of impossible blueness. In the distance, an island rises from the water, not the rugged, rocky Capri of your world's history books, but something transformed. The entire island has been sculpted, terraced with glowing white structures and lush exotic gardens. This is the Capri of the future, the designated pleasure island. It is where the elite come to truly unwind, to engage in leisure activities far more sophisticated than simple rest. It is a playground built on the bones of an ancient one. The Roman Emperor Tiberius famously retired to Capri in 27 AD, building a dozen villas from which he ruled the empire. Historians still debate the veracity of the tales, told by chroniclers like Tacitus and Suetonius, who painted a lurid picture of his debauched and cruel life there. Was he truly a monster? Or was this a smear campaign by a resentful Roman aristocracy? This new Capri seems determined to live up to the legendary, if not the historical, reputation for indulgence. Your flyer descends towards a landing platform carved into the white cliffs. Stepping out, the air is different here. It's warmer, scented with heavy blossoms and the clean scent of the sea. Music, a complex, ethereal melody, drifts from unseen sources. People are everywhere, but they are not the sober, gray-clad functionaries of the capital. Here, they wear vibrant colors, silks and shimmering fabrics that flow and ripple as they move. They stroll through hanging gardens, recline on opulent terraces overlooking the sea, and engage in games of skill and chance that use holographic projectors and light fields. It is a festival of the senses, a performance of joy. But as you wander through this paradise, you start to notice the artifice. The laughter, you realize, is a little too musical. The conversations are a little too polite. The joy is curated. There are attendants, subtle and unobtrusive, who glide through the crowds, their faces placid masks. They are the harmonizers, their role to gently guide the mood, to steer any conversation that might become too heated, to subtly adjust the chemical balance of the air to ensure a consistent level of pleasant contentment. It's like a party planned by a focus group. Even the birdsong, you suspect, is pre-recorded. One strange bit of trivia comes to mind. In the 18th century, a French inventor named Jacques de Vaucanson created a digesting duck, a complex automaton that could flap its wings, quack, drink water, and even appear to eat and digest grain, eventually excreting it. It was a marvel of mechanical engineering, a perfect simulation of a living creature. This entire island feels like Vaucanson's duck, a breathtakingly complex and beautiful machine designed to simulate life. You find a secluded alcove overlooking the azure water. The view is spectacular. Far below, you can see sleek, silent boats cutting through the water and bathers on beaches of impossibly white sand. It's a vision of earthly paradise. Yet you feel nothing. The numbness is a familiar cloak. This is the central paradox of your existence as hedon. You live in a world designed for pleasure, yet you are incapable of feeling it. Every sensation is filtered, pre-approved. Your capacity for genuine, spontaneous joy has been systematically dismantled. It has been traded for safety, for stability, for peace. It strikes you that this must be a common ailment. After all, if genuine passion is a form of chaos, then in a perfectly ordered world, it must be seen as a disease. You think of Fortnum, the terrified man on the train. You are living his nightmare. He is afraid of what's coming, the impending doom he can sense on the horizon. But you, as Hedon, are beginning to understand that the doom is already here. It's not an explosion or a war. It's a slow, quiet death of the soul, a decay of the human spirit under the gentle, crushing weight of perfection. You are not living. You are being lived. You are a passenger in a beautiful vehicle, on a smooth road, going nowhere you have chosen. The music shifts, a signal of a new activity about to begin. A public festival. The harmonizers gently begin to guide people towards the central plaza, and with a sense of weary resignation, you allow yourself to be swept along with the current, another colorful piece of driftwood in this placid, sparkling sea. The spark of rebellion has dimmed again, buried under layers of ingrained obedience and apathy. For now, you drift into the central plaza along with the tide of beautifully dressed, placid people. The plaza is a vast, open amphitheater of concentric, circular terraces that descend to a central stage. The setting sun of this world casts long, soft shadows, and the air is alive with the gentle, thrumming music and the scent of night-blooming flowers that are probably genetically engineered to peak at this exact moment. Tonight's festival is one of the grand spectacles, the dance of the synchronous soul. It's less a dance and more a piece of living, choreographed art. Dancers in glowing costumes will move in perfect harmony, their movements dictated by the central musical theme, forming shifting patterns of light and color. It's meant to be a celebration of collective harmony, a visual metaphor for the well-oiled social machine. For you, it's usually just another beautifully empty performance to endure. You find a place on one of the upper terraces, leaning against a cool alabaster wall, content to be an anonymous observer in the crowd. The performance begins. Figures glide onto the stage, their garments pulsing with soft light in time to the music. They move with an impossible, inhuman grace, their synchronization perfect. It's breathtaking in a sterile, technical way, like watching a high-end screensaver. You let your gaze wander over the audience. Hundreds of faces, all upturned towards the stage, all wearing the same expression of mild, pleasant appreciation. It's the face of a populace that has forgotten how to be truly captivated, truly moved. And then you see her. She's standing on a terrace across the plaza, partially obscured by a pillar, sculpted to look like a cascade of frozen water. She is not watching the dance. She is watching the crowd, and her expression is one you haven't seen on anyone in this world before. It's not the placid contentment of the others. It's a look of intense, critical observation, tinged with a weariness that mirrors your own, but sharpened by a defiant spark. She's dressed in a simple, deep crimson garment that stands out like a drop of blood against the pastel finery of those around her. Crimson, a color of passion, of rebellion. It feels like a statement. Your eyes meet across the expanse of the plaza. It's only for a second, a fleeting connection in a sea of strangers. But it's electric. In that brief glance, you feel a jolt of recognition, a sense of shared discontent that cuts through your lethargy like a physical shock. Her eyes are not placid. They are alive, with a restless intelligence. And in their depths, you see a flicker of the same dangerous idea that has begun to plague you. The thought that this perfect world is a beautiful lie. She looks away first, turning her attention back to the dancers with a cool, practiced indifference. But the moment has changed something. The listless boredom that has defined your existence as hedon is suddenly replaced by a sharp, focused curiosity. Who is this woman? In a society designed to sand down every sharp edge of personality, she is a jagged fragment of obsidian. Every other person here is part of the passive audience. She is a critic, maybe even a saboteur. This intense, sudden connection to a stranger brings to mind a strange historical fact. The phenomenon of Stendhal syndrome, a psychosomatic condition where individuals experience rapid heartbeat, dizziness, fainting, and even hallucinations when exposed to art of great beauty. It was first described in the 19th century after the French author Stendhal detailed his overwhelming emotional reaction to the art of Florence. Historians still debate whether this is a genuine, diagnosable condition or simply an exaggerated romantic notion of being overcome by beauty. But what you're feeling now is a kind of inverted Stendhal syndrome. You're not overwhelmed by the manufactured beauty of the dance. You're shocked into clarity by the one person who seems immune to it. The rest of the performance is a blur. The perfectly synchronized dancers become a meaningless swarm of lights. The ethereal music is just noise. Your entire focus is on the woman in crimson. You watch her out of the corner of your eye, feeling a strange, protective urge to shield her from the notice of the harmonizers who drift through the crowd, their placid faces a terrifying blend of serenity and surveillance. You feel certain that her dissonant attitude, her refusal to participate in the collective trance, must register on whatever subtle sensors they use to monitor the public mood. It's a foolish thought, of course. For all you know, she might be a high-ranking official herself, a government-sanctioned critic whose job is to provide feedback on the effectiveness of public spectacles, a sort of state-sponsored art snob. It's a funnier and much less romantic possibility. When the dance concludes and the gentle, programmed applause ripples through the plaza, you watch as she turns to leave. She moves with a purposeful grace, not the languid drifting of the others. She slips into the dispersing crowd, and a sudden panic seizes you. If you lose her now, you may never see her again. She will simply dissolve back into the placid, anonymous ocean of humanity, and you will be left alone again with your silent, screaming boredom. Driven by an impulse stronger than any you have felt in this dream life, you push off the wall and begin to make your way through the crowd, trying to keep that splash of crimson in your sights. It is a foolish, reckless thing to do. It is an unscheduled action, an anomaly, and it is the most alive you have felt in years. You follow the crimson dress through the gently dispersing crowd, a knot of unfamiliar anxiety and excitement tightening in your chest. Navigating the throng is more difficult than you expect. People in this world move with a slow, deliberate grace, unaccustomed to urgency. Pushing or jostling is a social vulgarity of the highest order. You are forced to weave and glide, a shark in a school of decorative fish, trying to appear as placid and aimless as everyone else, while your heart hammers with a very real, very unscheduled purpose. As you trail her, your mind, conditioned by years of protocol, runs through the countless social rules you are currently breaking. This world operates on a system of intricate, unspoken, but rigidly enforced social mechanics. It isn't a world of thou shalt nots backed by brute force, but one of one does not backed by immense social pressure and subtle conditioning. For instance, direct, uninvited approaches to strangers are considered deeply unsettling, a sign of emotional imbalance. Interactions are meant to be arranged, scheduled, mediated. Spontaneity is a malfunction. The most profound of these social structures is something called the Great Dance, a term that encompasses not just a single event, but the entire system of managed relationships. At a certain age, citizens are paired, not for love, not for passion, but for compatibility, for social harmony, for the perpetuation of a stable, predictable society. These pairings are determined by vast, complex algorithms that analyze personality, genetics, social function, and emotional temperament. The process is designed to eliminate the messy, chaotic, and often destructive force of romantic love. In this utopia, love is a bug, not a feature. The system is presented not as a restriction, but as a kindness, a way to save people from the pain of heartbreak, jealousy, and bad choices. You, hedon, have a designated partner, of course, a woman of suitable status. Your interactions are pleasant, polite, and as emotionally resonant as a business merger. Historians still debate the social impact of arranged marriages throughout human history? Were they primarily economic and political tools for consolidating family power? Or did they, in some cultures, provide a stable framework within which a different kind of love, a love based on duty, respect, and shared life, could flourish? This future society has taken the concept to its logical, sterile extreme, stripping out the family ties and economic necessity, leaving only the cold logic of the algorithm. To defy this system, to choose a partner based on a fleeting, irrational connection across a crowded plaza, it isn't just breaking a rule. It's a form of blasphemy against the core tenets of your civilization. You follow her out of the plaza and into one of the terraced gardens that clings to the cliffs of Capri. The ethereal music is softer here, mixing with the gentle whisper of a breeze through the strange, iridescent foliage. She stops by a balustrade, looking out at the dark, shimmering sea. The moon, or moons, of this world cast a silver light, illuminating her silhouette. Now is your chance, your moment to do the unthinkable, to speak to a stranger without an introduction. It feels as daunting as jumping off the cliff. What would you even say? Pardon me. I noticed your expression of profound existential ennui and found it vaguely relatable. Probably a bit direct. It's comical, in a bleak way. You're a powerful leader of this world, a man whose words can direct the course of society, yet you are completely inept at the basic human act of starting a conversation. It calls to mind the bizarre courting rituals of the bowerbird. The male bowerbird builds an elaborate structure, a bower, and decorates it with colorful objects, berries, flowers, shiny bits of plastic, all in a meticulous, artistic effort to attract a female. He doesn't just rely on his natural plumage. He has to build something, to create a spectacle. You feel like you're supposed to have a bower, a pre-approved social structure to present, but all you have is this raw, unscripted impulse. She must sense you there, a shadow lingering a few paces behind her. She turns, not with a start, but with a slow, deliberate movement. Her face in the moonlight is even more striking. It's not just beautiful. It's intelligent, weary, and proud. She looks at you, and there is no surprise in her eyes, only a kind of wary recognition. You are a long way from the central forum, she says. Her voice is low and clear, with a faintly mocking edge. She knows who you are. Of course she does. Your face is broadcast across the world, the face of the establishment, the embodiment of the perfect, placid order. The very thing her posture, her dress, her gaze seems to reject. This single statement short-circuits all your planned pleasantries. She has seen through your official mask to the man beneath and called you out on the incongruity of your presence here, in this place of simulated leisure, so far from your seat of power. It's a direct challenge, and it's the most honest and direct communication you've experienced in years. The carefully constructed world of polite fictions and scheduled interactions has just been punctured. Standing before this woman, you feel the full, terrifying, and exhilarating weight of an unpredictable moment. You are off the map. There are no harmonizers here, no scripts whispering in your mind. There is only the sea, the moonlight, and a conversation that could, you sense, change everything. Her opening gambit hangs in the fragrant air between you, a chessboard with the first unexpected move already made. You are a long way from the central forum. It's a statement of fact, but it lands like an accusation. You, the pillar of the establishment, caught playing hooky at the grand playground of the elite. All your carefully prepared, fumbling introductions evaporate. Honesty, you realize, is the only possible response. Anything less would be an insult to the intelligence so clearly evident in her gaze. I needed a different view, you say. The words feel inadequate, but they are true. The view from the forum has become repetitive. A small, sad smile touches her lips. There are only so many ways to arrange perfection, she replies, her voice a low murmur. After a while, you start to see the seams. Her name, you learn, is Udina. The name, like yours, is a cruel joke of this society's architects. Udina, a name derived from a Greek root suggesting good-spiritedness or cheerfulness. And here she stands, a portrait of elegant disillusionment. You talk for what feels like hours, though it may only be minutes. The conversation is unlike any you have ever had in this life. It's not an exchange of pleasantries or a negotiation of policy. It's a delicate, thrilling dance of shared dissent. You don't speak of overthrowing the government or smashing the system. The rebellion is smaller, more personal, and far more profound. It is the simple act of admitting, out loud, that the paradise you live in is a cage. You confess your weariness, the soul-crushing ennui of your position. She, in turn, speaks of the tyranny of contentment, the way the society systematically pathologizes any strong emotion, branding it as an imbalance to be corrected. They have mistaken numbness for peace, she says, her gaze fixed on the dark horizon. They want us to be content. They are terrified of us being happy. Happiness is a volatile, unpredictable thing. It leads to passion, to risk, to art that is unsettling, to love that is inconvenient. Every word she speaks resonates with the unspoken anxieties that have been festering within you. You learn that she is a biosculptor, one of the artists who designs the fantastical foliage for these pleasure gardens. It's a prestigious role. shaping the very aesthetics of utopia. But she describes it as painting with ghosts. She creates forms of breathtaking beauty, but they are hollow, designed to evoke a gentle, pre-approved sense of wonder, never to challenge or provoke. I design a flower that weeps shimmering dew at midnight, she says, with a hint of self-mockery. But what I want to create is a flower with thorns, one that can draw blood. The risk you are both taking is immense. The air itself in this world seems to have ears. Sophisticated surveillance is a given, a foundational element of this stable society. Public spaces are likely saturated with sensors that monitor not just sound and video, but biometrics, heart rate, respiration, subtle chemical changes in the air that might indicate emotional distress or dissent. Your conversation is a tiny spike of abnormal data in a sea of predictable tranquility, a bit like trying to whisper a secret in a modern smart home, where your virtual assistant is always listening. Oddly enough, the first voice-activated assistant wasn't Siri or Alexa, but a toy doll from the 1980s called Julie, who could respond to a handful of vocal cues. The technology was rudimentary, but the dream of a constantly listening, responsive environment is an old one. You and Udina are living in the fully realized and slightly sinister version of that dream. Historians still debate the effectiveness and ethics of secret police forces throughout history, from the secret agents of Elizabethan England to the Stasi of East Germany. Did their pervasive surveillance truly prevent rebellion, or did it simply drive discontent further underground, making it more potent when it finally erupted? In your world, the surveillance is so complete, so seamlessly integrated, that most people have forgotten it exists. But you and Udina are suddenly, acutely aware of it. The soft breeze could be carrying your words to a listening device. The glowing petals of a nearby plant could conceal a lens. The thrill of your conversation is sharpened by the constant humming presence of that danger. You share a laugh, a real, spontaneous laugh, not the polite, musical chuckle of the other guests. It's a shocking sound in the quiet garden. The joke is a dark one, about the sheer absurdity of your situation. Two of the most privileged people in the world, living in a supposed paradise, hiding in the shadows to complain about how wonderful everything is. For a moment, that shared laughter creates a bubble of intimacy around you, a small, private world in defiance of the larger, managed one. In her eyes, you no longer see just a mirror of your own disillusionment. You see a potential ally, a co-conspirator. You see a reason to do more than just feel trapped. You see, for the first time, a reason to want to be free. The meeting feels fated, a collision of two solitary asteroids that have been traveling on lonely parallel orbits. Now that you've met, the idea of returning to that solitary trajectory is unbearable. The first conversation in the moonlit garden acts as a catalyst, transforming your passive discontent into an active conspiracy. It's a conspiracy of two, with no grand plan for revolution, only a shared, desperate need for authenticity in a world made of polished simulations. You begin to meet in secret, engineering moments of privacy with the meticulous care of spies. These clandestine encounters are the only real part of your life now. The rest, the hollow pageantry of your public role, the placid interactions with your designated partner, becomes the dream, the performance you must endure to get to the next stolen moment of reality with Udina. Your meeting places are chosen for their anonymity, for the gaps they offer in the seamless surveillance state. You find forgotten corners of Capri's gardens, disused maintenance tunnels beneath the gleaming walkways, or silent, automated art galleries during off-peak hours where the only observers are holographic sculptures. Each meeting is a gamble, a deliberate step off the approved path. You communicate in nuances, in shared glances and coded phrases, acutely aware that your defiance lies not in what you say, but in the simple, forbidden act of meeting at all. Your conversations deepen. You talk about the past, not the sanitized, official history of your world, but the chaotic, messy, vibrant history of the world before it. The world of Fortnum, the man on the train. You have his fragmented memories, a strange inheritance of a life filled with struggle, passion, and meaning derived from that very struggle. You describe to her the concepts of poverty, of jealousy, of ambition, untethered by social engineering. To Udina, these are like tales from a bizarre and frightening mythology. For you, they are a baseline for what humanity has lost in its quest for perfection. Udina, in turn, shows you the subtle ways the system enforces its control. She points out how the public art and music are all designed within a narrow range of frequencies and patterns known to induce placidity. She explains how the very food you eat contains subtle chemical balancers to regulate mood. It's not a single, overt act of oppression, but a million tiny, gentle nudges, an architecture of compliance built into the fabric of your reality. Historians still debate the true level of autonomy in seemingly free societies. How much are our choices, from what we buy to who we vote for, shaped by subtle advertising, social media algorithms, and cultural pressures we are not even aware of? Your world is simply the transparent, fully realized version of this debate. The puppet masters aren't hiding. They've convinced the puppets that the strings are for their own good. The more you talk, the deeper your connection becomes. It's an intellectual intimacy that quickly blossoms into something more. It's the forbidden thing itself, love. Not the calm, compatible respect of the great dance, but a fierce, desperate, and dangerous attachment. It is born not of shared pleasures, but of a shared rebellion. It's a love defined by the risks you take for one another, by the secrets you keep together. One of the more peculiar fads of the Victorian era was floriography, or the language of flowers. An entire dictionary of meaning was assigned to different blossoms, allowing lovers to send coded messages to one another in the form of a bouquet. A red tulip was a declaration of love, while a yellow carnation signified disdain. You and Udina have invented your own, more desperate floriography, using shared glances and brief touches to communicate volumes in a world that would sentence you to rebalancing for a single, honest word. The inevitable conclusion begins to dawn on you both. This can't continue. The stolen moments, the whispered conversations, they are not enough. They are a constant reminder of the cage, not an escape from it. The double life is becoming unsustainable. The strain of maintaining your public facade while nurturing this secret, revolutionary self is starting to show. You are becoming distracted, irritable. People are beginning to notice. A harmonizer on Capri gives you a long, placidly concerned look. Your designated partner mentions that your biorhythms seem unsettled. The walls are closing in. The decision is made in a stark, silent grotto by the sea, the waves crashing against the rocks providing the only soundtrack. There are no dramatic declarations, no tearful vows. It's a quiet, shared recognition of the only path left. You must leave. You must abandon everything, your status, your responsibilities, your entire preordained existence. You must reject the great dance, break the sacred social contract, and disappear. You will run together and try to find a place in the world untouched by the soft tyranny of perfection. It's a terrifying prospect. The world outside the gleaming cities and pleasure islands is an unknown. The natural world is spoken of as a dangerous, chaotic place, best observed from a distance. To abandon your post is the greatest crime a man of your stature can commit. It is not just a personal failure. It is a systemic one. It is a declaration that the perfect world has a flaw. It's a crack in the flawless mirror. And you both know, without saying it, that the system will not tolerate such a crack. They will not simply let you go. But the alternative, to stay and let this burgeoning love, this one true thing in your life, be extinguished by the gentle, suffocating pressure of contentment. is no longer an option. You have reached the point of no return. You will run together. The plan for your escape is terrifyingly simple. Built on exploiting the one great weakness of your perfectly managed world, its assumption of compliance. The system is designed to prevent rebellion, but it is not well equipped to handle simple, irrational flight. It is like a high-tech security grid designed to stop a tank, which might be completely baffled by a person just deciding to walk away from it all. You will leave Capri, but not together. You will travel separately to the mainland, to a prearranged rendezvous point, moving under the guise of official, albeit unusual, duties. You, Hedon, use your authority to schedule a geological survey of the Northern Highlands, a remote and sparsely populated region. It's a plausible, if eccentric, request for a man of your position. A desire to connect with the planet's primal energies is an acceptable, even fashionable, eccentricity for a high-ranking official showing signs of stress. It will be seen as a form of therapy, a private retreat. Udina, for her part, requests a leave of absence to collect wild genetic material for her biosculpting work from the same region. Two separate, sanctioned journeys to the same remote area. It is a thin cover story, but it's the best you can do. The most daring lies, after all, are the ones that are mostly true. Your departure from Capri is a quiet, sterile affair. You board your personal flyer, the same sleek teardrop that brought you to the island of your awakening. The automated voice confirms your flight plan to a northern transit hub. As the flyer lifts into the sky, you look down one last time at the glittering white and green jewel of the island. It's a paradise you are fleeing, a perfect prison you have just broken out of. There is no triumph, only a cold, sharp fear and the burning hope of seeing Udina again. The flight to the mainland is long and silent. Below, the manicured landscapes of the populated coastal zones give way to something wilder. You see vast, managed forests, then foothills, and finally, the rugged, untamed expanse of the highlands. This is the wilderness. From your safe, climate-controlled pod, it looks magnificent and intimidating. You land at a small, automated transit station on the edge of the wildlands. Here, the sleek flyers are useless. You exchange your official transport for a more rugged, all-terrain vehicle, a functional, graceless machine designed for navigating rough ground. The act of switching from the silent, effortless luxury of the flyer to the humming utilitarian vehicle feels like a significant threshold being crossed. You are literally moving from one world into another. Your rendezvous point is a remote, abandoned weather station nestled in a high valley. You drive for hours, the smooth, silent roadways giving way to rougher tracks. the landscape becomes more dramatic. Great gray crags of rock, deep green valleys choked with ancient forests, and rivers running fast and clear over stony beds. There are no other vehicles, no signs of habitation. There is only the wind and the vast, overwhelming silence of nature. It's beautiful, but also profoundly lonely. This is the world that existed before. Your civilization paved and perfected it. The Roman concept of genius loci, the protective spirit of a place, comes to mind. If these mountains have a spirit, it is an old, indifferent one, unconcerned with the small dramas of men. You arrive at the weather station as twilight bleeds across the sky. It's a derelict structure, a relic from a previous technological age. Its metal skin pitted and stained by years of exposure to the elements. You park the vehicle and wait, your heart a frantic drum against your ribs. Every sound, the cry of a bird, the whisper of the wind through a cracked antenna, sends a jolt of panic through you. What if she doesn't come? What if her request was denied? What if she was stopped? The wait stretches into an agony of minutes. The sun sinks below the jagged peaks, plunging the valley into a deep, purple shadow. You are about to be consumed by despair when you hear it, the hum of another vehicle approaching from the east. You scramble out of your own transport, your eyes straining in the dim light. A small, rugged rover, identical to yours, crests a nearby hill and bumps its way down the track towards you. It pulls up a few yards away, its engine sighing into silence. The canopy lifts, and she is there. Udana climbs out, her crimson dress replaced by a simple, practical tunic and trousers. Her face is pale in the gloom, her eyes wide. You close the distance between you in a few stumbling steps. You don't speak. There are no words. You simply hold each other, a desperate, clinging embrace in the vast, silent wilderness. The cool metal of the abandoned station at your back, the immense, ancient mountains surrounding you, and the star-dusted sky arching above. It's a moment of pure, undiluted reality. It's terrifying. And it's the first moment of genuine freedom you have ever known. There is no plan beyond this, no grand destination. There is only the shared, reckless decision to be here, together, at the edge of the world you have left behind. And for now, that is more than enough. One odd but true fact is that there's a hum in some parts of the world, like Taos, New Mexico, a persistent low-frequency sound that only some residents can hear. The source is a mystery. Here, in this valley, the only hum is the one inside your own head, a mix of fear and elation. The embrace ends, but you remain close. your foreheads touching in the cold, thin air. The sheer, overwhelming relief of seeing her is so potent, it's almost painful. You are two pieces of a puzzle that have found each other in an impossibly vast and empty box. But the relief is quickly followed by the dawning reality of your situation. You are fugitives. You have supplies for a few days, maybe a week. You have no long-term plan. You are two supremely privileged, highly specialized products of a utopian society who probably couldn't survive a rainy weekend without automated assistance. It's a sobering thought. You're pretty sure that between the two of you, a man who governed a civilization and a woman who designed its aesthetics, you possess the combined practical wilderness survival skills of a moderately capable squirrel. You spend the first night in one of the rugged, all-terrain vehicles, huddled together for warmth as the temperature plummets. Sleep is fragmented, punctuated by the unfamiliar sounds of the wilderness and the gnawing anxiety of what comes next. In the stark light of morning, the valley is revealed in all its raw, intimidating beauty. It's a world of stone, wind, and hardy, tenacious life. This is what the world is when you strip away the layers of control. Over the next few days, you travel deeper into the highlands, seeking a place where you can disappear, not just from sight, but from the likelihood of random discovery. You find it, improbably, in a small, sheltered vale, tucked behind a ridge of ancient rock. A stream runs through it, and at its heart stands the ruin of a small cabin built by some long-forgotten pioneer of an earlier age. The roof has caved in, but 3 of the stone walls are still sound. It's a start. It's a home. And so begins your new life. It is a life of breathtaking, arduous simplicity. The first few weeks are a comedy of errors. You, the former political leader, spend an entire afternoon trying to build a fire. Your efforts, producing nothing but smoke and frustration. Before you, Dina, with her biosculptor's patient observation, figures out the precise combination of tinder, kindling, and airflow. You feel a flush of shame and then a liberating laugh. All your power, all your status meant nothing here. You were humbled by a pile of wet sticks. Your days fall into a rhythm, dictated by necessity. You gather firewood. You repair the cabin using fallen timber and clay from the stream bank to patch the walls. You learn to fish in the stream with a sharpened branch. You, Dina, with her profound knowledge of botany, proves to be a surprisingly adept forager, identifying edible roots and berries you would have walked right past. She moves through the forest with a quiet confidence. Her past life of designing artificial plants, giving her a unique appreciation for the real thing. She shows you mosses, great green carpets of them, and tells you how their ancestors were some of the first plants to colonize land, making them more ancient than the dinosaurs. The fact is staggering. You are living amidst life that has been patiently surviving here for hundreds of millions of years. Your civilization, in comparison, is just a fleeting, arrogant dream. This stripped-down existence is a revelation. Philosophers have long debated whether humanity, in a state of nature, is fundamentally good and peaceful, the noble savage concept, or if civilization is a necessary cage to contain our brutish instincts. Living here, you feel it's more complex. Life is hard, and nature is unforgiving, but it is also honest. The taste of a fish you caught yourself, cooked over a fire you built together, is more satisfying than any of the nutrient-balanced, aesthetically perfect meals you ate in your old life. The exhaustion you feel at the end of the day is a clean, honest fatigue, not the soul-deep weariness of a pointless existence. You watch sunrises that splash impossible colors across the peaks. You lie on your backs at night on a bed of fragrant pine boughs and stare up at a blanket of stars so thick and bright it seems you could reach out and scoop them up with your hands. Your love, forged in secret and defiance, flourishes in this open wilderness. It's a quiet, profound bond, strengthened by shared struggle and mutual reliance. The complex social rules of the great dance seem like a distant, absurd memory. This is real. This is true. But the peace is fragile. The world you left behind is silent, but its presence is a constant, low-level hum of dread in the back of your mind. One night, while watching the stars, you see a point of light moving in a perfect, straight line across the heavens. It is too fast for a star, too silent for a flyer. A satellite. It's a cold, stark reminder. They know you are out here. They must. Your unscheduled, unapproved absence from the heart of the system would be a screaming alarm. For a civilization that prides itself on knowing where everyone is and what everyone is doing, two such significant missing pieces would be an intolerable anomaly. For a while, you become paranoid, imagining harmonizers in their placid, creepy way, just observing you from behind a large rock. A ridiculous thought, but the feeling persists. Your perfect world has no need for a conventional police force or army. Why would it? But you have no doubt that it has tools for retrieval, for correction. The silence from that world is not benign neglect. It is the silence of an observer, a scientist watching an experiment unfold, deciding on the right moment to intervene. You are living on borrowed time, a brief, beautiful season of freedom before the inevitable winter. You hold Udina closer in the starlight, a silent acknowledgement passing between you. This idyllic life is a stolen one. And you both know, with a terrible, unspoken certainty, that sooner or later the owners will come to collect. The idyllic season in your mountain refuge lasts longer than you have any right to expect. Days bleed into weeks, and weeks into months. The sharp edges of your former selves soften. The city pale skin of a privileged politician and a pampered artist is replaced by the tanned, weathered complexions of people who live under the open sky. You build a life, a real one, in the shell of the old cabin. But the fragile peace is predicated on a lie you tell yourselves, that you have been forgotten, that your small act of rebellion was deemed too insignificant to address. But your world is not a world that forgets. And your defiance, you come to realize, was never just a personal matter. In a perfectly balanced system, any thrown stone creates ripples. And the stone you threw was a boulder. Back in the gleaming cities, your disappearance has become more than just an anomaly. It has become a political crisis. You, a senior member of the Global Council, have abdicated your responsibility. You have chosen personal, romantic whim over the flawless logic of the great dance and the stability of the social order. For one political faction, this is an unacceptable heresy, a sign that the system's controls are too loose, that emotion and individuality are diseases that require a firmer hand. They see your flight as a symptom of a deeper sickness, a dangerous romanticism that must be purged. For another faction, more radical and far more dangerous, your disappearance is not a problem, but an opportunity. They are the expansionists, the interventionists, a group that has long argued that their perfect, harmonious system is not a gift to be kept to themselves, but one that should be shared. They believe the last few pockets of humanity that exist outside their direct control, more rugged, militaristic societies on the other side of the planet, are a source of potential instability and must be brought into the fold for their own good. They have been waiting for a pretext, a reason to mobilize their incredible technological power for something other than maintaining internal placidity, and you have just handed it to them. The narrative they spin is a work of political genius. Your escape is not presented as a romantic dalliance. Instead, it is framed as a defection. You, the high-ranking leader, privy to the system's greatest secrets, have fled into the wilderness, possibly to make contact with the barbarian outsiders. Your act of love is twisted into an act of treason. Udina is not your partner in rebellion. She is a foreign agent, a honey trap who lured you away. It is a simple, powerful lie, designed to create fear and rally support. It provides the perfect excuse to do what the hardliners have always wanted to do: to project their power, to launch a preemptive war under the guise of global security. This political maneuvering is, of course, a recurring theme in human history. The sinking of the USS Maine in Havana Harbor in 1898, for example. The cause of the explosion is still debated by historians. Was it an external mine, as the American press claimed, or an internal coal bunker fire? Regardless, the incident was seized upon by politicians and sensationalist newspapers, fanning the flames of public outrage and providing the final push for the United States to declare war on Spain. Your love affair in this future world has become their USS Maine, a convenient, emotionally charged incident used to justify a pre-planned conflict. You are, of course, blissfully unaware of the storm gathering on the horizon. Your concerns are more immediate: patching the roof before the winter rains, storing enough food, watching the sky for silent, observant satellites. You have a few artifacts of your old life left, including a small, personal data device. It is inert, with no connection to the global network, but it contains a library of downloaded information: star charts, geological maps, literature. One night, plagued by a growing sense of unease, you managed to jury-rig it to an old antenna at the weather station, hoping to catch some stray, ambient data feed, a weather update, anything. What you get is a single, terrifying fragment of a public broadcast. It's just audio, crackling and distorted. But the voice is one you recognize: a former colleague from the Central Forum, his tone now infused with a hard, righteous anger you've never heard before. He is not speaking of peace or harmony. He speaks of betrayal, of external threats, of the corruption that has reached into the very heart of our council. He speaks of the necessary purification that must now be undertaken. He never says your name. He doesn't have to. You are the corruption. You are the pretext. You sit there in the cold, derelict station, the crackling voice from the speaker filling the silence, and you understand. Your small, personal act of wanting to be free has been repurposed. Your desire for an authentic life with the woman you love is about to be used as the justification for the deaths of millions. The fragile, beautiful world you built with Udina in your mountain sanctuary is about to be washed away by a war you accidentally started. The dread that haunted Fortnum on the train, the premonition of some awful, impending doom. This is it. It was never just about a broken heart. It was about a broken world. And the Armageddon he was dreaming of is no longer a dream. It is about to begin. The thought of that seems so surreal that, for a moment, you almost feel as though you might get a nosebleed just from the sheer atmospheric pressure of it all. Funnily enough, in the 17th century, it was believed by some that a nosebleed could cure a headache or even feelings of lovesickness by releasing excess passion from the body. You could probably use a bit of that right now. The broadcast dies, dissolving into a hiss of static, but its chilling message hangs in the air of the ruined weather station. The abstract dread you've been living with has coalesced into a sharp, specific, and infinitely more terrible reality. You haven't just been found. You've been weaponized. You look at Udina, her face illuminated by the faint glow of the data device, and see your own horror reflected in her eyes. The peace you fought so hard to find is over. The silence of the wilderness is no longer a comfort. It's the quiet before a hurricane. Your first desperate impulse is to run again, to go deeper, higher, further into the wildlands where no machine can follow. But you both know it's a futile gesture. You aren't just hiding from search parties anymore. You're hiding from a world gearing up for war. The entire planet is about to become a battlefield, and your quiet valley is no longer a sanctuary. It's just an irrelevant patch of dirt on a burning map. There's a sense of grim inevitability, a feeling of being a pawn in a game so vast you can't even see the board. The politicians in their sterile forums are not just mobilizing against the barbarians on the other side of the globe. Their first act, you realize with a cold certainty, will be to resolve the internal security threat, to eliminate the traitors who started it all, to erase you. The narrative requires it. The heroic new war effort cannot be tainted by the continued existence of the villains at its heart. The first sign comes 2 nights later. It's not an invading army marching through the valley. This world is far too sophisticated for that. You are stargazing, a habit that has become a nightly ritual when Udina points to the sky. "Look," she whispers, "it's a fleet of them. High-altitude flyers moving in a tight V-shaped formation. They are not the sleek, silent personal transports or the bulky cargo haulers. These are different, dark, angular, and purposeful. They move with a predatory speed across the starfield, heading west toward the other continent. There must be hundreds of them. The war has begun. It's not a dream or a political speech anymore. It's real. A silent, deadly procession in the heavens. You feel a profound sense of powerlessness, like watching a tidal wave from a raft. Your small rebellion was about love, freedom, and authenticity. It has been twisted into its polar opposite, a catalyst for mechanized, impersonal slaughter on a global scale. This is the ultimate, obscene irony of your perfect world. It had eliminated all the small-scale violence of passion, jealousy, and greed, only to store up all that aggressive potential for one vast, hyper-efficient act of supreme violence. It's like a person who never gets angry, who just represses every slight and irritation for decades, and then one day snaps in a truly spectacular fashion. And then, a few hours before dawn, They come for you. You are woken from a shallow, restless sleep, not by a sound, but by a light. A brilliant, unwavering blue light that floods the valley, erasing the shadows and turning the world into a stark, two-dimensional stage set. You scramble from the cabin, your heart a frantic bird in your chest. Hovering above the valley, completely silent, is a single, massive flyer. It's not one of the sleek military craft. It's something else. A broad, disc-shaped vehicle, its underside glowing with that intense blue light. It's a machine designed for surveillance and containment, the harmonizers in technological form. A voice, the same calm, gentle, impersonal tone you remember from the Central Forum, echoes through the valley, seemingly coming from all directions at once. Hedon, Udina, your period of unsanctioned leave is over. You will surrender yourselves for reassignment. There will be no resistance. It's not a request. It's not a threat. It's a statement of an unalterable fact. It's the voice of the system, serene and absolute. The Armageddon that Fortnum dreamt of, that you have been living, wasn't about you at all. Your love story was just the prologue, the first chapter. Now, the main event is beginning, and you are being swept off the stage. They haven't come to kill you, you realize. That would be messy and would create martyrs. They have come to correct you, to erase your rebellion, rebalance your chemistry, and reintegrate your socially inconvenient personalities back into the placid whole. The thought is somehow more terrifying than death. As you stand there, frozen in the cold blue glare, you see other lights, faint at first, then growing brighter, approaching from the east. It's another fleet, but these are not the dark, angular war machines of your people. They are different, bulkier, less graceful, trailing faint plumes of exhaust. It is the barbarian fleet, the enemy. They have not waited to be attacked. They have come to meet the threat head-on. And your tiny, insignificant valley, your sanctuary, has just become the location of the first battle of the World War you helped to create. This is something straight out of Tacitus's writings on the Roman Germanic Wars, where entire tribes were wiped out because they were in the wrong place when two empires decided to collide. The thought offers no comfort, only a grim sense of historical repetition. The serene blue light of the containment vessel is suddenly joined by the fiery orange streaks of incoming projectiles. The sky begins to burn. The serene blue-lit valley erupts into a vision of hell. The enemy's projectiles, primitive but effective, slam into the side of the massive containment vessel hovering above you. The impact is silent for a moment, and then a wave of sound and pressure washes over you, a physical blow that throws you to the ground. The gentle, impersonal voice is cut off, replaced by the roar of tearing metal and the high-pitched scream of a failing engine. You scramble behind the ruined wall of your cabin, pulling Udina down with you. The world has descended into chaos. The sky is no longer a canvas of stars, but a frenetic, lethal light show. The dark, angular war machines of your people swarm in, engaging the bulkier enemy craft. Lances of pure energy, silent and impossibly fast, slice through the sky. Explosions blossom like fiery flowers, raining incandescent debris down upon the valley. The ancient, peaceful wilderness is being ripped apart, incinerated by a conflict it has no part in. The giant containment vessel, mortally wounded, lurches sideways. Its serene blue light flickers, replaced by the angry orange glow of internal fires. It begins to fall, not with a crash, but with a slow, agonizing descent, shedding pieces of its fuselage as it comes. It crashes into the ridge on the far side of the valley with a ground-shaking impact that cracks the very stone beneath you. The Armageddon of Fortnum's dream is here, and it is more terrible and more impersonal than you could ever have imagined. There is no gallantry, no heroism, just the cold, terrifying math of advanced weaponry. In the flickering, apocalyptic light, you look for Udina. In the mad scramble, when the first explosion hit, you were separated. You scream her name, but your voice is swallowed by the cacophony of war. Panic, cold and sharp, cuts through the awe and terror. The global catastrophe, the end of your world, suddenly shrinks to a single, desperate focus. Finding her. You crawl from behind the ruined wall, staying low to the ground as incandescent metal falls around you. The air is thick with the smell of ozone, burning fuel, and something else. The scent of the ancient forest itself being vaporized. You see her, a small, huddled figure, sheltering behind a large boulder 50 yards away. Relief floods through you, so potent, it makes you weak. But as you start to move towards her, the battle overhead takes a new, horrifying turn. One of your fleet, a dark, dart-like fighter, is hit. It spirals out of control, trailing a plume of black smoke, careening directly towards your end of the valley, towards Capri, towards home. Wait, no, not home. You're in the mountains. The memory whiplash is intense. For a moment, Hedon's life and Fortnum's reality bleed together in the chaos. The crashing flyer seems destined for the island paradise of your early dream life, not this rocky valley. The lines are blurring, the two nightmares becoming one. You shake your head, trying to clear the confusion. This isn't Capri. This is real. The flyer slams into the ground not far from where Udina is sheltering. The explosion is blinding. A wave of heat washes over you, singing the hair from your arms. The world goes white, then red, then black. When your vision returns, the landscape is transformed. The area around the crash is a crater of glowing molten rock. The ancient trees are gone, turned to black skeletal toothpicks. Of the boulder where Udina was hiding, there is nothing. Just gone. Vaporized. A sound tears from your throat. A raw, animal noise of pure anguish. This is it. This is the endpoint of Fortnum's dream, the final, agonizing moment that he has been reliving night after night, the horror he has been desperately trying to avoid by staying awake on that rattling train. You understand his terror now. It's not the fear of dying. It's the fear of having to live through this exact moment over and over again. The moment where everything you fled for, everything you fought for, is extinguished in a meaningless flash of light. You get to your feet, staggering in the ravaged landscape. The battle still rages above, but it's just noise now. An irrelevant backdrop to your personal apocalypse. There is nothing left. No hope. No future. No Udina. You begin to walk. A numb, aimless stumbling towards the glowing crater, towards the spot where she was. There is no thought, no plan, only a dim, instinctual need to go to her, even if there is nothing left to find. It's a bit like the odd historical accounts of phantom limbs, where amputees can still feel vivid sensations from a missing arm or leg. You feel her absence as a physical presence, a gaping, burning void in the world. As you walk, a shadow falls over you. You look up. Another of the enemy's craft, damaged and trailing fire, is coming down. It is large, and it is coming down right on top of you. There is no time to run, no desire to. You simply stop and watch it fall, a great, dark bird of prey descending to claim you. This, you think with a strange, calm detachment, is the end of the line, the final moment of the dream. You close your eyes, and in the sudden, silent darkness, you feel a jolt, a shudder that runs through your entire body. The smell of fire and ozone is gone, replaced by the scent of old upholstery and stale coffee. The roar of battle fades, replaced by the gentle, rhythmic clatter of wheels on a track. You open your eyes. The fiery, ruined valley is gone. The screaming chaos of the sky has vanished. You are sitting in the dim, swaying carriage of the night train. The worn plush of the seat beneath you. The dark, rushing landscape reflected in the window. Opposite you, Fortnum's body jerks violently, his head snapping back as if from a physical blow. He lets out a ragged, choked gasp, his eyes flying open. They are wide with a fresh and terrible horror, staring right at you, but not seeing you. He is still, for a moment, in that burning crater, watching the ship descend. He shudders, a convulsion that runs from his head to his feet, and then his gaze focuses. He sees you. He sees the carriage, the flickering lights, the other sleeping passengers. He puts a hand to his forehead, his skin pale and clammy with sweat. "Did I?" he begins, his voice a dry croak. "Did I fall asleep?" You simply nod, unable to speak. You have just returned from his nightmare. You have lived the end of his dream life, an apocalypse born from a forbidden love. The memory of it is so vivid, so horribly real, that the quiet reality of the train carriage feels thin and fragile, like a projection over a more solid, more terrible truth. You can almost still feel the heat of the explosions, smell the vaporized forest. You look at your own hands, half expecting them to be burned and scraped. They are not. You are you again, a passenger on a train, but you are not the same person who boarded it hours ago. Fortnum seems to deflate, all the tension going out of him, leaving behind a hollow, exhausted husk. He slumps back in his seat, his gaze unfocused. "So you know," he whispers. "It's not a question. You saw the end of it." He closes his eyes, and a single tear escapes from the corner of one, tracing a path through the grime on his cheek. It always ends there. Always. I live it all again. The hope, the flight, the brief, stupid happiness in our little valley, and then that. He doesn't need to elaborate. You were there. He seems to have no curiosity about how you saw it. The boundaries between his minds, his worlds, seem to have collapsed entirely. He accepts your presence in his private hell as just another grim facet of his condition. Perhaps, after so many cycles, the story has become so powerful, it has started to leak, to draw in those who get too close. Historians still debate the nature of mass hysteria events, like the dancing plague of 1518 in Strasbourg, where hundreds of people began to dance uncontrollably for days on end. Was it a shared psychological delusion, a strange neurological condition, or something else entirely? Your brief, shared nightmare with Fortnum feels like a microcosm of that, a folie à deux, a madness shared by two, on a rocking late-night train. The train begins to slow, the rhythm of the wheels changing, the brakes emitting a long, mournful sigh. Outside, the blackness is giving way to the first gray, uncertain light of dawn. The silhouettes of buildings appear, dark and indistinct against the pale sky. The journey is almost over. Fortnum stirs himself, sitting up a little straighter. He pulls a handkerchief from his pocket and wipes his face. He looks, if possible, even older and more weary than when you first saw him. The nightly ordeal has taken its toll. "This is my stop," he says, his voice flat, devoid of all emotion. He gets to his feet, a bit unsteadily, and retrieves a small leather bag from the overhead rack. He stands in the aisle for a moment, not looking at you. Thank you for the conversation, he says to the empty space beside you. It helped for a while. He shuffles down the aisle towards the door, a man bearing an impossible weight. A man condemned to live out a tragedy on a nightly basis, to fall in love and lose everything, again and again and again, with no hope of escape, except for the fleeting, terrified lucidity of his waking hours. As he reaches the door, he pauses and looks back at you. His expression is one of hollowed-out despair, but also a strange, quiet pity. I hope your dreams are more pleasant, he says. Then he turns and disappears out of the carriage. The train pulls into the station with a final, gentle lurch. The lights flicker on to their full, unforgiving brightness. An automated announcement calls out the name of the station, a mundane end to a surreal journey. You gather your own bag and step out onto the platform, into the cold, damp air of the early morning. The platform is nearly deserted. You see Fortnum, a lonely figure in a crumpled suit, walking towards the station exit, not looking back. He vanishes into the emerging crowds of the city, just another face, just another man heading to work, carrying his private Armageddon with him. You stand there on the platform for a long time, watching the sun rise over the city. It's a normal sunrise, on a normal day, but everything feels different. The world feels thinner, its reality less certain. You are left with the ghost of a memory that is not yours, haunted by the tragic love of Hedon and Udina, by the vision of a world so perfect it had to destroy itself. It's an oddly terrifying thought, and not at all comforting to think about the historical accounts of people like Nostradamus, whose prophecies have been interpreted and misinterpreted for centuries. His cryptic verses, like Fortnum's dream, leave you with more questions than answers. The train pulls away from the station, leaving you alone with the silence and the chill of the morning, wondering if all of our grand, utopian dreams carry the seed of their own fiery destruction. And so, the journey ends, both for the man on the train and for us here tonight. The story slips away, leaving behind just the faint echo of its tragedy, a little whisper of doubt about the solid reality we inhabit. As the details begin to soften and blur, like a landscape seen through a misty morning window, let the feelings of fear and urgency gently recede, leaving only a quiet, contemplative stillness. Imagine the cold dawn giving way to the gentle warmth of a new day, the sounds of the city starting up, a gentle rhythm that has nothing to do with war or burning skies, but everything to do with the simple, ongoing business of life. The terror of the dream fades, and all that remains is the profound, quiet sadness of a love that was found and then lost, a fate that played out in a world that might have only existed in a troubled man's sleep. The wheels of the train have stopped their clatter. The last whistle has faded into the distance, and now there is only the peaceful, comfortable silence of your own room. There is nothing to fear here. Let your own thoughts drift, slow down, and dissolve into the soft darkness that awaits. A darkness that holds no apocalyptic visions, only the promise of a deep and untroubled rest. Allow yourself to float on that gentle tide, to let go of the story and all its sorrows, and to simply be as you drift now, softly, quietly, into your own peaceful, empty sleep.